감사합니다.
Morning light spells on the windowsill. Coffee steam dances. Time seems to stand still. Slow heartbeat sings to the mellow bass. Moments linger in this sacred space. Easy mornings, you and me unwinding. Every sunrise feels like perfect timing. Soft whispers carried on a lazy breeze. In your arms I'm finally at ease. Easy mornings, home is slow.
Droplets sliding down my window glass. Clouds reflect the memories of the past. Footsteps echo on the empty street. heartbeat syncing with the steady beat. Candle flickers in the silent room. Your voice lingers in the mellow gloom. I trace your name upon a page, chasing whispers through this rainy haze. Let the rain wash over me, soothe my mind. In this quiet moment, love's what I find. Soft reflections in a gentle tide, holding on to you through the inside.
あ、そうなんですね。学会受験。例えば、
タイミングが
止まんないです。
タイミングがなんか雲分厚い。
絶対なんか